we've got a full mailbag here as we sit about a week away or so from the red-white spring game. Abby, where are you starting us off with in the mailbag?
All right, speaking of the spring game, what name do you think will emerge from the spring game that we haven't been talking about?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one.
Who haven't we talked about?
Yeah.
Okay. Same with every spring.
Hold on.
Okay.
Let's think about this.
Because we've already covered some of these like walk-on receivers.
I will say this, Fedoni hasn't come up that much lately. He did last time. Forget that one. Scratch. Is there any those receivers that we don't talk about much? This question is really falling flat, Abby. Have you noticed?
We're just trying to
keep one guy Garrett McGuire mentioned was Sean Hardy.
Okay.
Saying he's one of those guys that has been getting a lot of extra reps, especially with Billy Kemp's workload. So if you talk about spring emergers, like the rando spring game guy that catches 7 balls for 82 yards and a touchdown.
The Krinsky-Gillian spring game guy.
Sean Hardy is a good name. That's a good name.
What was that running back, Butler, back in the
Butler.
He had like back-to-back 100-yard spring games.
Then
Chris Butler.
Chris Butler then transferred.
And then he started for Auburn.
Transferred to Auburn.
That's how good Nebraska's running backs were.
Did he start for Auburn?
Yeah, he played for Auburn, played a lot for him.
Okay. I didn't know that, but I distinctly remember the transfer date.
All right, I'll throw out the quarterbacks. I mean, what about like Chubba Purdy and Richard Torres? Could like one of those guys at least flash?
Yeah, Torres. I mean, we haven't seen much of Torres. That would be interesting. That would be certainly interesting.
All right, next question.
Do you think there's any chance that Matt Rule will utilize a 2-quarterback system?
No.
Not really.
I just don't. I mean, Frost tried to do it a little bit with McCaffrey and Martinez, and it kind of destroyed the season. I mean, the Illinois game was one of the worst home losses. They were like 13-point favorites, and they got embarrassed.
Go ahead and say it. It was one of the worst home losses you've ever seen. It was.
It really was, considering the context of what that was.
I mean, I watched the game mostly with my mouth agape. I couldn't believe what was going on. Come on.
And then they put Martinez in late, and he just started like lighting up. I mean, like he had done his whole career against Illinois.
Yeah, like literally the best games of his career were against Illinois, and they were messing around putting McCaffrey in there.
A 2-quarterback system. I don't see Rule doing it. Rule's sort of old school in a lot of ways. Just doesn't fit his mold.
Could you be gimmicky with Heinrich Harburg?
Yes,
as a red zone runner.
Yeah, you could be gimmicky that way, but I don't consider that a 2-quarterback system.
No, that's not a system. No. That's
just sticking
packages.
Yeah. Packages for Heinrich. Yeah, I could see that.
Remember schools like Missouri when they had Brad Smith and Chase Daniel was there, and they would give like Chase Daniel a design series every half.
Yeah.
But I mean, look who they had, you know. I mean, those were
I don't think we'll see a 2-quarterback system. And even the package with Heinrich is just idle speculation.
Right. All right, what do you got next?
With Nebraska losing out on a couple of offensive linemen in the 500-mile radius, where does that recruiting area stand, and how many O-line and D linemen do you think they'll take in the 2024 class?
Well, they took 6 last year, so they
took
took what? Linemen, offensive linemen. So
linemen.
Their number is huge. I mean, when you add Mason Goldman, Jason Machacek, Sam Sledge, Gunnar Gatula, Brock Knutson, and I'm missing one other one in there, but I mean that's a lot of linemen in one year. So I think the number is probably around 4 at the most, 3 or 4
O linemen.
Yeah, and they have Gibson Pyle, and Grant Bricks has to be a priority out of Logan Magnolia, Iowa right now. That to me, that's a guy that they have to lock up. But Andrew Sprague to Michigan out of Kansas City Rockhurst, it's a blow. He had been here 3 times, but you kind of had a feeling it was going that direction. I think the shocker still remains Gage Ginther, who we believe is the number 1 player in the state of Colorado, just based on his recruiting attention and offers. I think we've got him at number 2 on 3 right now. But he's got better offers than the guy ranked ahead of him.
Yeah.
So
who's going to Kansas State?
You just wonder the Gage Ginther thing to Tennessee. That was tough because it felt very good for Nebraska with Gage Ginther.
Yeah, his dad played at UNK. He was a corner at UNK, and his dad's a huge Husker fan. And Ginther was here, and the vibe was good. It seemed like he was engaged, and then all of a sudden, Tennessee, which has a thriving NIL operation, paying that quarterback there. I was reading on 3 that They recruited that quarterback. I'm not going to try his name, but $8 million is their talk. They threw out $8 million in a published report.
Nico, is that the?
Yeah. I'm a lever or something like that. I think that's how you put it.
Over his career, but that's a lot of money. I mean,
Amaliva, which is an apt name for this time period, because if he doesn't play enough, it'll be Amaliva, Tennessee for someone else.
Those deals, though, like there's a lot of red tape, and I don't put a lot of stock.
Folks.
Sorry,
I don't put a lot of stock in those kind of deals out there.
You don't?
I mean, I just
$8 million.
I think
I don't either, Sean.
That's outrageous.
That's crazy.
Like,
but it was on a published report. I'm just saying, on 3 published. Well, in fact, it was a really good story about this week's spring games, April 15th spring games, and talking about 5-star quarterbacks.
Rashada.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Rashada, Arizona State. But yeah. And they put that $8 million figure on Amaliva.
All right, Abby.
All right.
I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name either, but it sounds funny. Go ahead.
All right, next one, kind of difficult. What Nebraska team do you think will win a Big Ten championship first? Men's basketball or football?
Big Ten championship?
Yep.
Just outright conference?
I mean, you probably have to say football.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just winning the Big Ten is like winning the national championship. Like that's what I mean. Like if you win the Big Ten in basketball, you're a 1 seed. Purdue is a 1 seed.
Yep.
If you win it in football, Ohio State and Michigan made the playoffs this year.
And with football, all you have to do is win your division.
Not
and then
the divisions are going to be
well,
gone, though.
yeah, okay.
It's
for
a
the
tough
time
question.
being.
I mean, it's
a hard question.
It is.
It is.
It's
a
kind of
hard
like
question.
if you win the lottery, you're going to take the annual payments or the one lump sum. I mean,
What
it's
I
just
would
like a
like
dream.
to be able to say is it doesn't seem that far fetched, but right now it just seems incredibly far fetched.
Yeah, I mean, we're
on
just-
both counts.
You'd have to really talk yourself into either one of them
Right.
at this point.
Right.
It's just not even realistic talk until Nebraska shows progress to get to that level.
Yeah, and the big dogs are. I mean, you just look at Penn State. Nobody talks about Penn State. Nobody, and they've had 4 11-win seasons since 2016.
Because they can't beat those 2 other teams.
Right, but think about that. During Nebraska's struggle since 2016, Penn State 3 11-win seasons. 3 11-win seasons. I mean, nobody talks about them on that
They
side.
made multiple New Year's 6 bowl games.
Yeah, they just won the Rose Bowl. I mean, but it's Michigan's really rolling. I mean, some people are picking Michigan to win it all this year, and they'll have a great chance. They have that kind of roster.
All right, Abby. It looks like we got two more questions.
All right, next one. Is the singular focus on Dylan Raiola a mistake that will end up backfiring on Nebraska, as other 2024 quarterback targets are being wooed elsewhere, while Nebraska awaits and could ultimately lose Raiola?
My question back is, what do you do? Do you just because you have to keep recruiting him, and so what do you tell Daniel Kalen? Like, yeah, we're going to take you, but if Raiola comes here, we're going to dump you. Like, so Nebraska. I mean, if Nebraska said we're just going to stop recruiting Dylan Raiola because we don't think we're going to get him, but you still are in the conversation with them. I mean, that would
keep recruiting him.
You keep recruiting,
and if you don't get him, there's a very convenient thing they call the transfer portal.
Yep.
And that's where you go.
They have 6 scholarship quarterbacks right now. It's not like they're short on quarterbacks in this program.
It's not a big problem. Not a problem. I wouldn't worry about that at all.
No.
I wouldn't if I were Rule.
No. And the reward far outweighs the risk, in my opinion. Just because if you put all your chips on him and you get him, holy cow, you just got yourself a program quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't, like you just mentioned, you already got a bunch of guys you can work with on your roster, and there's a transfer portal, and there's other quarterbacks on the market.
That's it. And I bet you Matt Rule's answer would largely mirror what we just said.
All right, final question, Abby Barmer.
All right, it's finally warming up and starting to feel like spring. So what is your favorite season?
Not winter.
I'm a fall guy. I mean, you just cannot. I feel like the weather in Nebraska in the fall is its best because you get a little bit of summer. And it doesn't really start to get cold until
October,
even December now.
Yeah.
I mean, November's been a relative. I mean, other than the Wisconsin game this year, it's not.
No, we've had some nice Novembers. You're right.
Like you're mowing your lawn damn near in November still.
Yeah,
and so
I'm still riding a hog in November at times. I am on Saturdays. I mean, on there was that open Saturday. I was riding comfortably.
I love a night game Saturday because then you just have all morning Saturday to sit around and just go on a walk, enjoy the day a little fall weather.
I don't think there's any question that in Nebraska, fall is the best season. For one, there's football, but the weather is pristine. And I'll go beyond. I'll say the best month is October, when it's finally starting to get just chilly enough. You just slap a hoodie on, but you don't need a coat. Right. You wear jeans and a hoodie. Watch a weekend full of football. I mean, it does not get.
I've seen it. I've seen Robin do it. I've seen Robin in a hoodie watching football.
You don't call Robin
quite frequently. Yes.
Well, think about just our fall, like on these road trips. We went to West Lafayette. Just how glorious that weekend was in West Lafayette.
Beautiful.
Glorious might be a little much.
Oh, it was unbelievable.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I got to say.
I opened the room in my hotel room in the Purdue Union courtyard. It was like the courtyard of the Purdue Union, and there were kids outside throwing footballs around. It was just like picturesque.
God, you're right. You're right. Walking to the game, it was crisp.
They had a bottle of wine. I won't try to pronounce the name of that bottle.
Prosecco.
I called it prosciutto last time. It's a bad beat.
Much different South Elf. That's how they pronounce it in South Omaha.
Prosecco.
Prosciutto.
All right, Ramir. I'll get Tominaga on my butt.
The winter this year about did me in. That 50 below thing about did me in. It about did me in.
Yeah. Abby, below. What's yours?
I got to go with fall too. The weather is great, but then also when you factor in football and volleyball season, it just really levels it up.
Now those like 3 days of just elite 70-degree spring weather that we get. I mean, those are fantastic.
Like this week.
Yeah. So cherish them while they're here. Today, April 11th, was the first 80-degree day.
Oh, thank you, Robin.
Year.
Thank you.
Wow.
Get ready.
80.
Well, the spring's weird too, because there's always like some sort of fire in Kansas, and it brings up like smoke. And
intentional fires
with like 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts.
Like I went out to take my garbage out last night, and you could just smell burning.
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting. Come in, feel like you smoked a pack of Marlboro Reds.
Yeah, it's bad for people with asthma and various conditions.
Allergy.
Yeah,
terrible
really
place
watch
for allergies.
Yeah, you really got to watch that. Yeah.